Do you have any advice on how to handle the franticness of deadline after deadline? It's relentless at the moment, and I'm not sure how to deal with it.
Yes, whoever wrote this, you are certainly not alone. I think, the industry itself and the amount of pressure that's coming down to do more things in a shorter time frame is becoming an enormous management challenge. I think, the advice, I can give you what I do personally in the first instance, because none of us are immune to these sorts of deadlines that we're encountering. And the first thing you have to do is create space for yourself within any given day. And almost you need to make a meeting with yourself that is non-negotiable, because if you get to the end of the day and you are just one deadline after another, then you've put so much in and actually taken nothing out. So things like your nutrition, absolutely, you have to make sure that you're putting that front and center. Make time for some exercise, and then also talk to your business. So one of the things that we're constantly engaging with is the whole agency around where some of these deadlines are coming from. And then the senior leadership team are having conversations with our clients to really understand what is the driving force behind the deadline. Is it hurry up for the sake of hurry up? Is it hurry up only to slow down? Because then it gets, whatever it is that you're putting forward gets stuck in a bureaucratic loop client side. And sometimes just those open conversations and making clients aware of the pressure that these deadlines are putting on the team can open up a little bit of space. It's not always going to make every deadline go away, but we have to talk about it, because the answer is not, as individuals, for us just to keep on taking on more. But the thing that I would always come back to is you have to really look after yourself through these very busy periods, and it will be the first thing that you will let go of. You'll be, tight on time, and so you'll grab for snacks instead of actually taking the time to sit down and have a nutritious meal. In the agency, when we're pitching, which is obviously super deadline orientated, the one thing that we will always create space for is for the whole team to sit down and eat together. And also there's no fatty foods, there's no alcohol, there's no sugar. It is really about thinking as to, how can you look after yourself to best perform and make sure that you've got the right things going in. So it's kind of a combination of those things. Look after yourself, create some space that is non-negotiable in your day, and then at the same time talk to your immediate colleagues, talk to the senior leaders in your business, let them know the pressure you're under, and see if anything can be done to try and juggle some of these timelines so it's a bit more achievable.
Yeah, that's great. It's funny, isn't it? Like that pitch is it's like game day, isn't it? So you should be kind of making sure that you're in tip-top condition for the actual pitch. But sometimes, if you've just, too many times I think I've been involved in the time where you might just finish it at 3:30 a.m. and then suddenly you're pitching at 9 a.m., right? It's finding time to look after yourself during. And
sleep is okay as well. Like you yourself have to know when to call it, because there becomes a tipping point. More hours in the office, if they're not productive hours because you're too tired, or you haven't eaten properly, or you're pissed off because you haven't been able to get out and do the things that are important to you, you're not going to be working at your best. So being able to identify as well, where are my moments of high energy, and in those moments of high energy I'm going to do everything I can to just focus and push through these deadlines. And then in my moments of lower energy, what are the things that I can do to either try and help lift my energy or give myself some rest so I can just stop.
Yeah, great. Sabina, anything you'd like to add there?
Yeah, it's so easy when we hear Kimberly talk about self-care and everyone thinks, yeah, that's great, but not for me. I've got the wolves at my door. But from a psychological perspective, what I would say to that is I talk about the banana lounge and the importance of getting back to the metaphoric banana lounge every day. And it doesn't mean you've got a cocktail in your hand and a G-string on and the sun is shining, but it's that time where you have, and it could literally be for 2 minutes, where you're letting your body and your mind know that it's at peace and it's safe and it's quiet and it's not under threat, because everything, and I will so self disclose, I worked in PR and marketing before I was a psychologist. So I still relate to, I mean, it's not like I'm not dealing with a shitload of deadlines now too in the different gigs that I have, but that agency environment I know is frantic, and that 3 a.m. Deadline. But all that means to the body psychologically and physiologically is that the saber-toothed tiger is chasing you. The body doesn't know the difference between the deadline being put on it by the client, or a sick child, or not enough sleep, or too much rosé. It doesn't really matter. The body's not thinking or prioritizing. It just knows it's being slammed. And so being able to have time to get to the metaphoric banana lounge every day, a couple of times a day, is allowing the body to know that that threat in that moment has passed. And once we get back to that point, we recalibrate, and it allows us to go back into battle again, which is really what this question's describing, is how am I going to deal with a permanent state of battle? And if you don't give yourself the message, and that message is through all the things Kimberly talked about, but it's also just through maybe turning on a meditation or mindfulness app for a few minutes, not because you're a Buddhist monk and you've got that down pat, but again, just to let the body know in this moment we can breathe again. And there's no short path, there's no shortcut without allowing that break. And then the other thing I would say is, when you're feeling so overwhelmed by demands and deadlines from other people, is it's so fine to say to them, it doesn't mean you're not coping. It doesn't mean you're not good at your job. It doesn't mean you're not passionate and capable and able to ask someone else in the team, either at your level or someone you're reporting to. I'm dealing with multiple demands here. Can you help me understand which one is the best to prioritize at this time if I can't attend to them all?
Yeah, that's great advice.